I give Ohio State a lot of credit. I told my team, I said, they're going to come in here desperate. We beat them the first time. You get to this time of year and people are desperate for a lot of reasons. Some are desperate, like you watched Rutgers last night. God, they played so hard it was scary. Some are desperate because they're trying to get into the tournament, and some are desperate because they're trying to win the league. And if you ask me, the desperate trying to get in, which they deserve to be in, but was a lot better than our desperation to try to compete for a championship. I was totally disappointed with our effort in the first half. I was not disappointed with our offense. We had about 4 shots that went halfway down and popped out. I've never seen Cash go 3 for 15 or whatever he went, and with pretty good shots. So that wasn't the problem. I thought the problem was we weren't guarding and we were getting out rebounded, and that's getting to be a, you know, the out rebounding thing is getting to be a little bit of a burr in my side. But then at halftime, I think everybody made a commitment that we have to guard better. So we're going to have days when the ball doesn't go in, and the better we guarded, the better our break got, and the better the ball went in a little bit. But we didn't shoot it well all day, and part of that was Nick couldn't go the second half. It felt like he might have dislocated a finger or something here, and so I won't know until they go through all the medical procedures what that is. But it was a problem for us the second half. And give guys that didn't play well the first half, I could just list about everybody except Cassius. And the second half, I can list just about everybody played a lot better, especially Kenny Goins, Xavier, who those two struggled in the first half, and we got a lot out of Kith here. I mean, he'll sleep well tonight. His 10 minutes will be like an hour of work. And but McQuaid, as I told you, man, he guarded a guy that's been on fire lately and did an unbelievable job on Muhammad, and today he had an offensive end too. So we looked disheveled a little bit. We looked out of sync a little bit. We had a lot of different lineups in there. But we did what you had to do. The 18-point win, that's unfair to Ohio State because they played their tail off, and that was a close game the whole way. But for my guys to figure out how you're going to win different ways, it's not going to be pretty all the time. And defense not only travels, sometimes it works at home too. And this time it worked at home. So I got questions.
Nick's hand, I mean, the situation out of halftime, was it late in the first half?
Late in the first half, I guess. I didn't even see it. I don't know if he fell or if he got hit on a rebound. But when they came in, I mean, on the bench, they said he hurt his hand, and big deal, it was his right hand. But he really, it was hurting then, and they thought there was something wrong then. And that was, I don't know how many minutes left in the half, but not many. And then at halftime, they worked on him, and that's why he came out a little late. And we thought maybe he could go, but he just felt like he couldn't go much.
Tell me your left. Chris just called Kenny an unbelievable player, undervalued but not by coaches. What is it that Kenny Goins brings this team? He doesn't get the attention of a Nick or Cassius, but he's really the glue guy, the great guy.
Yeah, I'd say my two glue guys are him and McQuaid, and what they normally do is guard. He rebounds. He's starting to hit a couple of those threes, give him a lot of credit for that. But I'd say those two guys are glue guys, and Kenny might have been the reason we won the game the second half, but part of the reason we were in trouble the first half is some guys weren't doing their job either. And as I told them at halftime, you know, Magic talked to our team at the end of the last game, and he said, you know, the key is who's going to stay consistent the longest. And that is very difficult to do in this 20-game schedule. It really is. And yet, we're going to find a way to get that sense of urgency that we did not have in the first half. And I think sometimes now we've been on the road so long, 6 out of 9, you know, then we come home and it's almost like a, we'll let the crowd do it. Crowds have been so good in the last 3-4 games, if you ask me, but yet we got to give them something to cheer about, and they can't always get us going. We got to get them going, and we didn't do that today. So I'm just happy we got to win, because you got to win in a lot of different ways.
Coach, more on Kenny evolving and really to one of the top pick and pop players in the Big Ten. Also hitting those timely shots. It seems like he's becoming more clutch and such.
What I like about Kenny, he's been working harder on his shot, and he's always ready to shoot it now. And so his shot looks very smooth to me, you know, almost smoother than anybody on our team. And so I think he's gained some confidence. I think he's put the work in. But I also think he's ready to shoot, and our guys are comfortable to get him the ball. He's gotten some great passes from guys too, you know, those inside out, Nick Ward out, Cash is penetrating out. He's catching it, ready to shoot it, and it's right there in the pocket. So yeah, that was a big day for Kenny, and did a lot for us.
Now, about 8 minutes left, you pull out Cash. There's one kind of a weird lineup for you in there, but that seemed to be the group that kind of sparked it for you to get it. What did you see out of that group that allowed them to go?
Well, Cash was so tired, he never asked to come out, you know, and I asked DJ what the hell he's doing taking him out, and I looked at Cassius, I said, oh, I got you. He had to work on both ends today, you know, and they put some pressure on him. I mean, I can't tell you the respect I have for how they played. But the lineup we put in there, it's a different lineup, and that's kind of what you need. You know, maybe that's why you play some of those guys all year. You know, I'm sure somebody will say, well, why don't you play that lineup? Maybe I should start that lineup next game. You know, that's kind of the way you guys operate sometimes, no insult intended. But they gave us some minutes. They did their job, and I'm greatly appreciative for that. Yes.
Talked the other day about when you're down at Ohio State, how Caleb Wesson still got 25 and how effective he was. Can you talk about the way you guys defended him today, how you just kind of made life uncomfortable for him? How important that was?
Well, one thing we tried to do, even when Nick was in there, is not let him get it so easy. I thought down there we let him get it easy, but they run some nice stuff for him, and he is a load in there, man. And when they come down from the top, he is hard to handle. I don't know what he weighs, but it's a lot more than most of my guys. So he buried people. He did a good job. I thought he got a little tired, you know, and that was one of our game plans. Can we run him in ball screens? Can we run him up and down the court? Can we kind of get him tired a little bit? I didn't think he was moving as good at the end, and they tried to do a good job of getting him rest. But especially when Nick was out, Xavier got in foul trouble. I mean, we had a lot of problems today. And to win against a good team, I'm sure when I get home and watch the film, I'll feel better than I do right now. That sense of desperation, you know, even Langford said it, you know, and we've got to re-energize ourselves on that.
That's kind of a follow-up to Kyle's question about that lineup. You know, at that stage of the game, there's a lot riding on it. Are you kind of coaching to survive those minutes when you have a lineup like that in there, or are you still looking to, you know, attack as you would if it were Cassius and Nick or whoever?
Truth.
Yeah, please.
Survive. You know, I mean, you want to do certain things, but trying to get Cassius some rest. I'm trying to get X because he's in foul trouble. I'm trying to get some guys some breathers because Kenny had to go a long time, and McQuaid, you know. So it was, you know, I mean, that's not an insult to them. It's just trying to survive and run some things, but maybe run the clock a little bit more. You know, hopefully use a timeout or two. I was going to call when we went on that little 8-9 point run, and so I didn't do that either. And then we put Cash back in and X back in, and I don't know who else. I don't know who was all in there. Who was in there during that stretch? I'll tell you what I was trying to do.
Lawyer, McQuaid, Kithier, Arns, and Boyce.
Kenny, who else was up there?
Kithier, Arns, and Goins. Yeah, it's a small lineup. I mean, considering when they're really big, and you know, I thought Kithier did a good job trying to front, and Kenny does a pretty good job trying to help on the weak side. And we tried to get a little more pressure on the ball. I don't know if we did that or not. I just know that that it was you had to find a way to win that game, and that's what we talked about with 5 minutes left, and we're up a few. I said, "That's the way it's going to be now. We're not blowing anybody out usually." So I'm proud of my team for that. I'm just disappointed in why we started like we did, especially at home.
I was wondering, with Kyle starting the second half, what led to that? And then with X, did you know enough about Nick at that point where it was a health thing, or was it something else?
Yeah, he was in there getting worked on, and we had to put the lineup in, and just as we put it in, he came out. So that's why we put him in pretty much right after and see if he could go. And as far as Aaron, just trying to hold him accountable. We've gone to like a couple of weeks without a lot of controversy, so I wanted to create some. So I pulled my quarterback, and I don't know if I'm going to play him again the rest of the year, but I might.
Tom, somebody mentioned earlier the timeliness of Kenny's shots, and you could say the same thing with Matt. And not just at the end of the games, but at certain moments where maybe Ohio State's made a couple buckets, and then you're getting a bucket from both these guys in the last several weeks. Can you speak a little bit out to their experience, because there's a calmness.
Well, I think you got a fifth-year senior, Sean, and you got a fourth-year senior, and I think there is a calmness about him, and I think they always, Matt McQuaid plays with a sense of urgency every minute. I'm still baffled by, and I think you guys agree with me and done a better job, but if that isn't, you know, Bill Raftery said, wow, McQuaid, impressive in defense, you know. And he does it, we start to do it on both ends, and we're starting to run a few more things for him too, which is probably my fault, so I gotta do a better job of that. Because to come back like that with Cash not hitting shots is odd, you know, he's been so good. But I think that'll help us in the end. I think it'll help us that we had to bear down for a half. And I'll try to make that use that as a positive, but it's not gonna get any easier. I mean, I watched Rutgers last night. You talk about a physically tough team. So that's where you hope to get a little momentum. Maybe we got a little bit the second half, but we got some work to do. So those fans got to keep energizing us, and we'll get back. And you know, in fairness too, we were in a lot of foul trouble even early. You know, we had some guys we were worried about early on, and Xavier especially, and anytime Cash gets one, then we start worrying, because we know how it is with him. And I think, as you said, the bottom line is McQuaid and Goins have the most experience on the team. They've been through the most, and you know, Kenny's played in the Final Four. He understands the pressures. My biggest problem with him is, you know, getting that motor running all the time, you know, and my job to keep pushing the gas pedal. And you know, second half I thought he rebounded well, he ran well, got a great pass, Cash threw him for a dunk. That was just running. But it has hurt my team that we do not have a rotation, and nobody deserves any blame for that more than me. It's situations that we've been put in with these injuries is almost mind-boggling.
Ohio State's been going through a couple of things offensively these last couple of games, and I know they're not your players, so I'm not asking about them specifically, but when you're in the Big Ten, and it's this time of the year, and you're trying to get your offense rejuvenated, how challenging is that at this time of the season when you're going through a really tough offensive stretch?
Well, you know, I thought they did a good job of, you know, a few too many turnovers probably, and we've had the same problem, so I'm sure Chris isn't happy about that. But, you know, we're trying to play through Nick more. I think they played through Wesson. He's a load down there, and what he is, that's pretty good. He's a good passer. You know, I think they do a great job on their back cutting and that. They got us about 3-4 times, and we had spent a lot of time on that, so I'm disappointed in that. But part of it is they do a good job, you know. Kid I recruited, Kyle Young, I mean, he's great at slipping those things. You know, I think the only thing that I see that they struggled with is the same thing we struggle with. When you turn the ball over a lot, you know, you got problems. And they're turning it over more than they maybe could and should. And And I think we're right next to them. So that's not an insult to them, it's an insult to us. But those things create problems offensively for you. And they had a couple shots too, man. When they came down in that break and flipped it to Washington right in front of their bench, I mean, he makes those. You know, he makes those. And they missed a couple of shots. I thought Big Wesson missed a couple inside, you know, maybe tired, you know, I don't know. We go through the same thing, but I wouldn't question their effort or their cutting ability. I mean, I thought they played harder than us. And that bothers me to say that. Second half, I thought we bounced back, but I give them a lot of credit.
Got a couple more, start with Wojo.
Tom, going back to McQuaid and Goins for a second, could you have ever envisioned that Goins would become the type of shooter he is and McQuaid become the type of defender that he is? Did you see either one of those elements?
No, no. Back to truths here. Kenny never spent a lot of time on his game. He just had some other things. Very smart kid, and he started spending more time a year ago. And his shot, I mean, if you look at his shot, his follow through, and his rotation, it's better than anybody on our team. I mean, he's right there with Cassius. And McQuaid was a shooter his whole life. And then when he got hurt, and he went through all kinds of stuff, and when Josh went down, he came in and said, "Hey, I can do the job defensively." And you talk about a sacrifice that kid has made for this team. And it's really nice to see him be able to do both now, because you hit the nail on the head. I mean, the farthest thing I would have taken Kenny as is a three-point shooter, and the farthest thing I would have taken Cueto as is a defensive stopper, and both are doing those two things. And, you know, if we get Nick back, and I mean, Cassius, I'm not worried about Cassius. I actually was pleased that he hung in there as long as he did and did a pretty good job defensively. I mean, they made some shots too, especially in that first half, but he did a pretty good job on Jackson, holding him to 8 points. And so Cash will be fine. It's getting those other guys and getting Nick back, and we'll see what happens.
Tom.
Chase and then Rico.
Sorry. Tom, just Kyle obviously has had the kind of career where it sort of hasn't gone off the ground because of injuries and stuff, and even this year. For him to come in today, draw a big charge, hit a couple big shots, how pleased were you with what he provided today?
Well, I was really disappointed in him the first half, and but I was, my whole team and my staff and myself, so we were all one big happy family in there, and you know, we challenged Kyle too, and you know, told him his brother's a freshman. You can't lose to your brother, you know, he's a freshman. If he was a senior, you may think about it, but Kyle's a tough kid. I mean, he took those charges. We all know he's got a bad back, but he hit 2 big shots too, and I think it's important we get Kyle back. This was the first time in a long time that he practiced 2 days in a row before this game, and I really felt like his lift, his jumping ability was getting back, but you know, still it's hard to play, especially at a guard where you got to do things with the ball when you don't practice much. And so, considering what he's been through, Herculean effort, you know, to hang in there with a sore back and take the guff and still deliver.
One final one, Rico.
Tom, game was tied at 42. You guys hit a couple shots. Ohio State called the timeout. What was said in the huddle for you guys, and was it more of a coach-led huddle, or did the players step up?
The players were excited. The coach-led part of it, as I said, listen, we all know we haven't played great, but we have to win some games like this, and this is winning time, and this is, you know, what Magic Cells talked about, or this is what Cleves, or, you know, I give those guys so many lectures on so many different people, and I said, this is where we got it. I think I said, somebody said we got to build the lead. I said, and Cueto says, we just got to guard. I said, if they don't score, we can't lose, no matter what we do. You know, if we miss shots, we throw the ball away. If they don't score, we can't lose. I think we're up 7 or some 6. Is that about right? And I think that mentality they went with, and they made some big plays. And like I said, you know, I thought Ohio State missed a couple of shots too. But in the first half, we missed a bunch of shots, so I guess that's the way it happens. You can never rely on your shooting. We try to rely on our defense to hold a team like that to 32-26. that's pretty good, you know. We still got to figure out a way to clean up our rebounding. It blows me away, but not having Nick in there, though. I don't know how many minutes did Nick play even. 19, and those were weird minutes in the first half too, because he was a little tired and we had to keep him in there because of the foul trouble with Xavier. So there was it wasn't very fluid today. And but to win a game, doesn't matter the points, because it wasn't an 18-point game. To win a game when you didn't play your best against a team that I thought played damn hard, I'm going to take that and move forward. So appreciate it. Talk to you later.